Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is going to be about living at home with your parents. I was already planning on making this video about this topic for a hot second now, because if you have been around for any amount of time, then you know that I am blessed to be able to live with my mommy and daddy. And I have a lot of help from them, and they are honestly, I'm really lucky in that category because there aren't a lot of people that can say the same thing, especially queer or trans or neurodivergent people. So I wanted to kind of give an inside look into the scope of what it's like living with your parents and what it's like having kind of that emotional and financial support while also all of us at the same time being under the poverty line. So I was already planning on making this video because I talked about food insecurity in one of the last ones, and I saw that a certain somebody who, if you want to key on that, then click wherever the little eye pops up, I don't know, had made a vlog about me. So I feel so special. And I know it was about me because one, I'm not stupid, and two, she said how there was a 12-year age gap. And I, out of the three people that she's obsessed with, I'm the only one that lives with my parents. So yeah, and while I do that, I'm going to color. I just got this coloring book in the mail, and I figured that I could have a little bit of a zen time while I yippity yap away. Hang out or don't, you make your own decisions. And yeah. So to start out, I want to say that I really enjoy living with my parents. I mean, there are normal family dynamic problems, such as like who's going to do dishes, for example. I am not very big on doing dishes, so there's a couple of arguments here and there about it, but I've gotten better about doing dishes as of late. I have a scrubbing pad thingy, like a scrub daddy or scrub mommy or some shit like that. And that makes it a lot easier for me because the reason why I don't like doing dishes is because I hate when there is food stuck on it, because I don't like the way that food like decomposes and the way that it feels when you touch it while you're doing dishes. Whenever they would get me gloves, because gloves would also help, the gloves would get messed up by our cats or other factors that happen to plague our household. So that became very costly. So we couldn't get any more gloves, and so they have been getting me scrub daddies and scrub mommies instead, and that's a lot more helpful because I don't necessarily have to touch the food that is on the dishes. I can just scrub it away. But we've also devised a kind of like not a plan, like a rotation, if you will. I do the dishes when I can, whenever I'm asked. Say, for example, if there are dishes when everybody goes to sleep and I was unaware that there were enough dishes to warrant doing dishes, then my stepdad will get to them. And then so on and so forth. Basically, whoever gets to it first. And that has been very helpful also because it doesn't put a lot of pressure on me to do them because they both know and understand why I don't like doing dishes. They both understand why. And I also help out in other regards. Like I take the trash out and I feed the animals and I help with laundry. There's just a bunch of other things that I can do to help out as well. I don't know. It's just we worked it out. One of my favorite things about living with my parents is that because my so if you weren't here during the era of time where my stalker was threatening to bulldoze my house and turn it into a theme park, then you don't know anything about my home. So my parents own the house that I'm living in and the land that it sits on. They own it completely. The only thing they have to pay on it is property tax, which from what I understand, you have to pay property tax on any property that you own. And so there's no restrictions on how the inside can look. So I have complete control on how my room looks. I currently have it painted purple. On I don't know if you can tell on video here. Let me hurry up. Let me just I don't think you can. There's no spots where you can see. But I have it painted Nightmare Before Christmas themed. So it's purple, black, and white. And the white is the ceiling, the black is like the trims, and then everything else is purple. And then as you can always tell from my backgrounds, I have fucking literally everything under the sun on that I want on my walls. And here also is my other walls. And I can just keep going. I can just keep going. I can put stuff on these walls top to bottom if I wanted to. I could probably also put stuff on the ceiling if I wanted to. Like I can't hang from the ceiling. Like I wouldn't be able to put like a sensory swing, which sucks because it is a single wide, so the ceiling isn't it's not too strong. But I can put tapestries up there probably. I could probably put posters up there. I can put anything on this wall that I want. And my sister's room is the same way. She can put whatever she wants on her walls. She painted her walls uh like some sort of really light blue. She has a bunch of like K-pop stuff on her walls. And then the rest of the house is just whatever my parents put on the walls, like baby pictures, Jesus Christ, and stuff like that. The point is that I have no restriction on how much or how little I decorate my room. I mean, obviously, there are renter friendly ways to work around that kind of stuff, but I'm happy that for the time being, I don't have to worry about figuring it out. I can just have my room look the way that I want it to. And then when the time comes, I'll figure out how to do that again, but in a renter friendly way. Because I don't plan on staying at my parents' house for the rest of my life. I do, in fact, plan on moving out at some point. It's just about getting to that point in time where I can. And that segues me into the reason why I live with my parents. First of all, the reason why I live with my parents is because they saved me from the situation that I was in, held hostage and such. If you want to learn more about that, wherever it comes up. And so I have been living with them since 2022 because of that. And it is kind of a combination of my mom is having a hard time letting me leave the house again. Also a combination of I am having a hard time moving past some of my trauma-related things. For example, one of the problems that I have is being in public for extended periods of time. I would love nothing more than to get like a job that I go to and I come home from. And I think right now the perfect job for me would be like stocking shelves or something along those lines. Something that I can put work into, but I don't have to deal with a lot of people day to day. I put in so many applications for so many places, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not in a good spot mentally at this current moment to be able to just push those problems aside. I wish that I could. There are there are so many times where I just kind of sit and cry because I wish that I could be somebody who just lets it go. You know? Like I wish so for example, my boyfriend is a blue collar worker. So he does a lot of labor intensive things for work and he's able to just kind of work through his mental um I wouldn't say mental problems, but he's able to like work through his inner turmoil. And I really wish that I could be like that. Like I truly do. But the problem with that is is that it's still technically fresh for me because I'm having a hard time getting a therapist at this current moment. I have I have an appointment coming up in September that I'm hoping will officially get me a therapist, but I haven't been able to really talk through it or work through it with somebody who can actually, help me with those things. Like I want to do like talk therapy and I want to do what is it, EMDR, where it's like the eye movement thing. And I want to do all that, but I haven't had a chance to because I'm having a hard time getting a therapist. So hopefully I'll be able to start working through that in the coming months. I hope. I'm not gonna like hold my breath or anything, but it's a very difficult situation to be in because I have all of these things that I want to do. I have all of these aspirations, like I want to get a job and I want to eventually move out and move in with my partners. And I want to be able to start saving, like do like a nest egg fund. I want to be able to buy new clothes and stuff. Would I say that I mooch off of my parents? Eh, yes, but also no. The definition of mooching would be similar to sponging off of them, all of my, having them pay all of my finances and stuff. I'm very fortunate to be in the situation that I'm in because I'm able to live here rent free. When I was getting SSI, I was contributing towards bills, but I've never really had a rent that I've had to worry about. And the they do help pay for they do help pay for my expenses, but the only real expenses that I need help with right now is Spotify, iCloud, and getting my meds and, like doctor's visits and stuff like that. I don't really have expenses at the moment. I don't have to pay insurance. I don't have to pay car insurance. I don't have to like get gas or anything like that. Like I don't have any I don't really have any expenses at this current moment that I need to mooch off of them to have. Like, I could live without Spotify Premium. I could live without iCloud. The reason why they pay it for me is because they love me. I can't live without my medications though, so that's a need, and they are aware that that is a need. Again, they love me. So, I mean, there's not really any mooching happening, but also I'm their kid. They are of the opinion that if you love your child, then you will help them regardless of what that help is. There's been a question for a while actually that's been asked by the same person on why I wasn't kicked out, or if I've ever had to deal with like being disciplined and stuff like that. Because apparently, if you live with your parents at the ripe age of 27, then that means that you haven't been disciplined or some shit. I don't know. I have been disciplined. Probably not in the way that you would want me to be disciplined. My mother never beat me. She never spanked me. She never physically hurt me. She popped me every so often, but she took a more gentle parenting approach. She didn't let me get away with things. Like, I wasn't spoiled. I wasn't allowed to do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted, but she also didn't beat the shit out of me, you know? When you hear gentle parenting nowadays, you think, "Oh, the parent is letting their kid get away with whatever they want, and they're just letting them do whatever they want, and they're letting them basically run the household." That's not how that's not how my mom was. She let me know she let me know knew she wow, back up. She let me know who ran the house, but there also wasn't a division between us. Meaning she ran the house, but I wasn't scared of her. You with me? It was just like, I don't know how to explain it in a way that somebody who didn't live, who didn't grow up like that would understand. A lot of the people that have a problem with the way that I was brought up were beaten, and they got the belt, and they got paddles, they got um like switches, they got so much shit just like thrown at them. It also helps when you have the scope of understanding that I have been neurodivergent my entire life, and you can't you can't really physically discipline a neurodivergent kid because that just instills fear in them, and you don't want your child to fear you. You don't want your child to even fear what you're going to do to them. Like, you don't want your child to have any fear associated with you. And so my mom didn't physically discipline me, but other people did, such as my stepdad's ex-wife, and she physically abused me. And my mom saw, I was like around 10, 11, and my mom saw, the impact that that had on me. It physical punishment has never done anything for me, except now as an adult. If you know, you know. Uh, but when I was a kid, physical punishment never did anything productive for me. It only made me scared of whomever was conducting the physical punishment. So I I wasn't beaten. I wasn't spanked. Like I said, I was popped. I was like maybe a little bit harder than that, but like on the butt. Um, I wasn't berated. I wasn't like my mom had the my mom had and still has the mindset of don't let yourself be your child's first bully. And because of that, I grew up in an environment that fostered empathy and understanding. I grew up in an environment where I was able to come to my mom with anything. And even though that ended up not happening in certain aspects, it's still, it is instilled into me now, like still as an adult, that I can go to my mom for anything and she won't judge me. And we'll just sit down and have a conversation and everything will be fine. And I can go to her with the confidence that I'm not going to be judged and I'm not going to be hit and I'm not going to be berated no matter what the thing is that I need to talk to her about. And like I said, I'm incredibly lucky to have grown up in that kind of situation because not everybody can say that about their parents. Not everybody can say, I can go to my mom about this super embarrassing thing and I can talk to her about it and it not be a problem, you know? I don't think that that makes me a better person than other people because there are for sure other people that had it way better because on top of, all of that, I've had to deal with poverty my entire life. So she was juggling a neurodivergent child while also juggling poverty. And so it wasn't all hunky dory. It wasn't all good. There was like a lot of bad also. But in that regard specifically, my mother would never lay a hand on me. There was one time that I was beaten with a belt by my stepdad, and it was only the one time because yeah, it didn't set well with me and it didn't set well with her and she laid into him about it and he never physically punished me again. So honestly it really just depends on your child and how they respond to certain types of punishment. Because not only is it parent based, but it's also what can your child handle, you know? Because there are some kids that only respond to physical punishment. Not like being beaten half to death, but like there are some kids that only respond to being spanked. There are some kids that only respond to having their noses in the corner. There are some kids that only respond to having their uh having like their stuff taken away or groundings or whatever. That was another thing. I got grounded a lot. Hated being grounded. I got put in the corner. There were times when I was at my aunt and uncle's and I would be bad and they would put me in a corner and they would call it like something along the lines of like chill out time and they would set a timer and they wouldn't force me to sit in the corner. They would put me in a room or um a hallway with like a baby gate and I would have to just sit in that room or that hallway until the timer was up. And more often than not, I would end up falling asleep. And so then it would go into nap time. I don't know, there's something about it in my little teeny kid brain was like, wow, okay, so sitting in the corner isn't the worst thing ever. But as I got older, it started to become the worst thing ever because I got bored very easily. And, the ADHD got really bad. And so it started to become something that I didn't like. But that didn't stop my parents from putting me in the corner. Like I kept going into the corner because that, you know, that is a very valid and good way of disciplining your kid, is to put them in the corner. So there's that, and then I would get grounded a lot. Um, Especially in my like early teens, I would get grounded, and then in my late teens, I would get grounded, but for more time. And I was never sent to bed hungry, not by my parents at least. It's you, but yeah, no, I don't know why that is something that gets brought up with when it comes to talking about me living with my parents. I don't know why that gets brought up because she's not the only person that brings it up when talking about me living with my parents. Like whenever I talk about living with my parents on anything, anywhere, it always seems to be something that is brought up because people assume, oh, you live with your parents, so you must have gotten spoiled as a kid, or you live with your parents and blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, I didn't get spoiled. I didn't get I didn't get like a slap on the wrist. I just have a good relationship with my parents. Like, I don't know why that is so difficult for some people to comprehend. I'm sorry that you don't have a good relationship with your parents, I guess. My bad. I don't know what I'm supposed to say in regards to that because it's such an interesting thing to be shamed for, you know? Like there's a lot of people that get shamed for having bad relationships with their parents because it's like, oh, your parents, they raised you and they birthed you and you owe them this and this and this. And usually that's what you're shamed about. But it's so weird being shamed for having a good relationship with my parents. It's, that's the one that I'm done and I'm moving on to another one. It's a very weird predicament to be in. I do have plans. I have so many plans to get out of here, to get out of this house and live my own life and have, my own place or a place with my partners. I just have to build the bricks up to be able to get to a place where I can. It's a process. Okay, it is a whole process. I didn't get to have a normal early 20s. So I'm still trying to figure out how to have a normal like 20s while I still can. And I don't know, I don't know why other people are so bothered by the way that I live. Because it's like focus on your own life. Focus on the shit that you've got going on. You know what I mean? Like the stalker, for example, wants to sit there and tell me that I need to get a job and I need to do this and I need to do that. But girl, you sit online all day and scam people. Like I I don't. Like, yeah, sure, I need to get a job. Yeah, I agree with you. I need to get a job. However, I can't at the moment, and nothing is stopping you from getting a job. See what I'm saying? It's just, it's wild. It's just, mind your business. Mind your business. Worry about your own life. And I will continue to live with my parents. Oh, also another thing is that people like to assume that because I live under my parents' roof that I have to follow their rules. There are no rules. Except for like the basic clean up your mess, make sure you let them know if somebody's coming over, blah 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 blah, blah, like basic normal common sense rules. I'm almost 30. I don't have rules. I can do what I want whenever I want. I can eat what I want whenever I want. I can bring people over whenever I want. The only thing that I have to do is I have to make sure that my mom knows ahead of time that they're coming over. But that's like common fucking sense. I can leave whenever I want. I can come back whenever I want. I'm a whole adult. I can do what I want when I want. I feel like if you are of the mindset of, oh, if my kid is living with me, then if my kid is living with me and they are an adult, then they still have to follow my rules. You're just infantilizing your child. Giving your adult offspring rules as if they were a teenager still is just it's infantilizing. Infant it's infantilizing them. And I am so incredibly blessed that my parents don't infantilize me. They treat me like the adult that I am. That is really all I have for this episode. I don't know what else to say. I love living with my parents. I don't know. But yeah. Uh, like, comment, subscribe, I guess, if you want. I don't know. Bye.